One of my actual first job that I did was field work, and it was like a technology transfer type of job. We're teaching, not teaching, we're helping households adopt the use of biogas for cooking mostly, and then they could also use it for lighting. And so the hard part usually for such type of technologies is to convince people to take up, because it really does require like a change in behavior, some sort of slight inconveniences, especially during setup, and then the cost implication. Now, usually most of these projects do not advocate for like full funding, because the problem with human beings is that we value things that we have spent something on, like that have actually sort of pulled something from us in terms of resources. And so because of that, then there were a few, I think there were like demo plots. We used to have demo plots where it was done 100%, like it was sponsored 100%, but the others were being sponsored, I think, about 25% or some percent like that. One of the outputs that the donors wanted to get at the end of this implementation was to do some form of CDM, like some of trying to trade off of the carbon that would be saved. And so yes, that was one of the outputs that these people wanted to have. Now, I strongly believe in implementing sustainable solutions, truly very much. My concern, and has been, I think, fueled every other time that I hear anything about improved cooking solutions, and I don't know, anything that is green geared, especially when they're trying to do calculations, is that first of all we are only using estimations. We're only using estimations, and also verification of the data that is given is also very difficult. Now, granted, like for our project, we actually did take GPS locations. So we had to put in GPS locations, the size of the plant, I think, and other things. That was a long time ago, and other things. But actually, usually the impact, the greenhouse gas contribution impact, only comes from use, and use where there is like a reduction of use of the conventional system. So, for example, in this case, it was cooking stoves, cooking with biogas. So, the biogas plant has been installed, but is it functioning every day? Is it like functioning reliably? And on top of it functioning, if we were looking at if we're looking at the estimating the reduction in GHG through cooking, but for you're still using the normal Jiko or fire stove, and then now you've decided, okay, this is a very good alternative for lighting, which used to generally happen more often than not, then we're still giving a wrong calculation, right? Because if we compare the emissions from cooking versus the emissions from lighting, either through electricity or solar, because that's what people were using then, or even paraffin lamps, because again, then if you have this light available, then you want to use it until izime. So most of the time you find that people are staying up later because there's light, and not necessarily saving the amount of paraffin that they'd have used, because paraffin was generally more costly. So me, that's my quagmire when it comes to environmental accounting, especially mechanisms that are trying to sort of do field impact analysis. It's very, very, very difficult. Now, I've thought about this thing after yesterday I attended a webinar, and from the webinar, truly very good efforts are being made. Let me just start with that. Like, truly very good efforts are being made But from that webinar, the type of evaluation of impact or verification of impact is still very ambiguous, because just because I, as someone who sells improved cook stoves, says that I sold 300 cook stoves, for example, and even have evidence of people, the question should not be, then you can't use my sale, you shouldn't really use my sales to evaluate impact. You should use the consumption, the utilization of those cook stoves by the consumers to evaluate impact. And that at the moment is still quite, I think, difficult. It's very difficult to do, and also quite far off. Why I dispute this method is because there are so many errors. First of all, there can be overestimations. Sometimes we just buy something because it's there, because it's cheaper, but we're not really going to use it. And then sometimes even the way we use it is not, there's also not enough civic education to allow people to know how to increase the efficiency, to actually optimize the efficiency of these cook stoves. So therefore you still end up using the same amount of charcoal that you would use with that, with the normal one on this, maybe cooking, for example, gedere. So my solution to this, so that I don't give problems only, my solution to this would be, let's also look at ways of civic education. I think that's where it should start, civic education. And then after you've told people how to do it, what is the benefit, and so on and so forth, then you tell everyone, don't even sell it to them, tell everyone in a kijiji, come, bring your cook stove that you're using, I'll replace it with this one. And then now you can be able to know that anyone who's using a cook stove will now generally be using an improved cook stove. There still is going to be problems of measurement of impact, because just because I have for example, I have a Jiko, but I've probably only used it once in my, in the entirety of period that I've had it. So there's still going to be those type of miscalculations. But when you are really if the government is really trying to achieve something, then it's better if they make 100% effort within their capacity to achieve that, and then go dealing with those small misdemeanors as they come along.